Alright, hey everyone, this is Ronin Dave. I'm here in Kamakura, Kita-Kamakura to be exact, North Kamakura. And today we're going to hike along a trail that goes down to the Daibutsu, the Great Buddha. It should take us about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending on how fast we walk. And I should mention that we're doing this during cherry blossom season, so we hope to see some really good views and get away from the main road over there, because there are all kinds of buses and cars, because this is a popular time of the year. Alright. So our first temple along the way is Jochiti, built in 1281, around the same time as the Mongol invasions. We're not going to go in there today, but it is a really nice temple. It costs about 200-300 yen to go in, I believe. Definitely worth checking out if you're here and you have the time, but we still have many steps to go. To save you from listening to me wheeze as I go along, I'll give you some background information on Kamakura. Kamakura is about an hour south from Tokyo by train. It gets a lot of visitors, so I recommend weekday visits if you can manage it. In comparison to Tokyo, Kamakura feels small and somewhat backwaterish, but once it was the military capital of Japan and an impressive city in its own right, while Tokyo, or Edo as it was called back then, was a sleepy seaside village of no importance. It was here for about 150 years that most of the country was administrated, through the will of the emperor, of course, in theory and on paper, but in reality, not so much. The real ruler of the land was the shogun. The position of shogun had originally been essentially a general put in charge of military expeditions, but in 1192 the shogun would administer the country with the power invested in him by the emperor. But it was pretty clear who the real boss was. The whole two rulers, who's in charge thing gets even more complicated when the shogun became like the emperor, a figurehead with no real power. The power rested in the regents, who were the in-laws of the first shogun. As I said, it gets very complicated. So you had three tiers of power. The one that officially had the lowest power was actually the one with the most power. So we took a little divergent path from the main one to Genjiyama, and came across a little tomb, cave tomb. You'll find a number of these type of caves, man-made caves, all around Kamakura. Usually from the Kamakura era from 12th century to the 14th century.
I bet that was.
By the looks of it, not many people come here. There are some, what you find, there's bits of money, offerings that people leave. I see a jar of sake, but they're all quite old. So I don't think many people get up here. find this. This is definitely a cool little treasure off the beaten path place. So when you come off the path, you come to a nice little shrine called Kuzuharaoka Shrine. It's a relatively recent shrine, as shrines go in this area, having only been built in the 1880s. It was built to honor this person, the spirit of this person here, Hino Toshimoto. Hino Toshimoto lived in the 14th century, early 14th century. And just to give you a little bit of backstory, the Hojo family basically ruled all of Japan from Kamakura. They had provided a number of fairly good rulers for about a century or so, and they helped stave off the Mongol attack with the help of a timely typhoon, of course. But by the early 14th century, they'd kind of worn out their welcome. They'd become despotic, decadent, and despondent somewhat. And so there were a number of people conspiring against them, and particularly at the imperial court. They wanted to return the governing power of the country back to the imperial court as it used to be before it had gone to the shogun court starting in 1192. So there were conspiracies afoot with the Emperor Go-Daigo, and one of his followers, Hino Toshimoto, was a part of that. They were conspiring to overthrow the Kamakura government, and it was leaked out, and Hino Toshimoto was brought to Kamakura from Kyoto and executed. His death was not in vain, though. For a year later, the Kamakura government was overthrown in 1333 completely, and the imperial court was once again the head of the country for a little while. But that's a story for another time. So you can get rid of all your evils for just 100 yen and a little clay plate by throwing them against a rock. It's called Masaru Ishi. So let's see if it'll work. Oh, that busted up good. So in this lovely park, we have a lovely but bloody man here, Minamoto no Yoritomo. He was a samurai and the first hereditary shogun. Before him, shogun was like a title, a position like 5-star general that would be given for a certain period of time for a certain reason. But he became the first shogun who handed the title down to his son, and that established the whole shogunate rule for the next 700-800 years. After his family had rebelled and failed, he was sent out here as a hostage to the Hojo family, but he got in good with them, married the daughter of his captor, and rebelled against his family's enemy, people known as the Heike, and eventually succeeded and defeated them and set up what we call the Kamakura Bakufu, or Kamakura Shogunate, starting 1192. He had a nasty habit of killing off a lot of his relatives, along with the enemies of his family, which he kind of turned out to be. Oh, jeez. Hey, I'm at Zeniaraibenzaiten Jinja. Say that 3 times fast. I probably mispronounced that anyway. This is a shrine that was built in 1185, originally to a Shinto god, Uga Fukujin, who's like a god of food and wealth. This shrine, according to legends, was built in 1185. The first shogun, Minamoto no Yoritomo, had his dream that the god Uga Fukujin came to him and said, if you found the spring that is here, that peace and prosperity would come over the land. So he built the first shrine here, and then sometime later, one of the 5th shogun regent, he came here and washed his coins in the spring, and he urged others to do so, saying that it would bring them success and wealth. So that's what people do today. They bring their money here. They don't use their coins nowadays. They bring their bills, hoping they'll get a bigger amount of money from that. I'm gonna go old school though. I'm just gonna use my coins. I'm humble that way. So we're gonna go in the cave and we're gonna wash our money. So let's come on. Oh, I think I have to buy an incense stick when I do this.
Uh-oh. It's gonna cost you.
Alright. First, we do, you said, the candle. No, wait, no, sorry, the incense. You know. Yeah. I think I did this out of order, so I'm gonna lose money. Okay. So I washed my 250 yen. So I expect to get 500 yen in return. I have wet money. And now it's time to get back to the hiking path to get to the Daibutsu.
Big Buddha.
The idea of Daibutsu in Kamakura is said to have originated with Yoritomo's visit to Nara in 1195. And Nara was the first Daibutsu, or Great Buddha, built in the 8th century. There, Yoritomo saw the restoration of the Daibutsu, which had been damaged in the wars with his clan enemies. This is said to have given him the idea of building a Daibutsu of his own in his shogun capital of Kamakura. However, Yoritomo died before he could begin any serious work on the project. It was up to a lady of his court and a monk to see the project through. First, they raised money for a large wooden Daibutsu, but this was severely damaged shortly after it was built. So they raised funds again, this time for a bronze replacement, which was completed in 1252. The Daibutsu stands at about 11.5 meters, 13.5 if you count the base. Now, although it may look like a purposeful aesthetic design that the Kamakura Daibutsu is dining on cosmic thoughts al fresco, this is really by accident. For over 2 centuries, the Daibutsu was housed in a large temple building, much like the Nara Daibutsu is today. That is, until the temple was destroyed by a tsunami at the end of the 15th century. Since then, the Daibutsu has been sitting out in the open and looking much the better for it, in my humble opinion. We have crows over here ready to pick our bones in case we slip and fall down here. The Daibutsu of Kamakura has fared better than its larger and older brother in Nara, which lost its head on its own accord in the 9th century and was badly damaged in battle in the 12th and 16th century. It's also survived the many sackings of Kamakura from 14th to the 16th centuries. Even the Great Kanto earthquake of 1923 only gave it a slight scar. I'm about at the end of the Daibutsu hiking path. The temple is still about 400 meters from where I'm at, but now we're going to get onto the road, so I don't really consider that much hiking. The For those who do this path, I strongly suggest starting in Kita-Kamakura and hiking to the Daibutsu that way, rather than starting at the Daibutsu and hiking to Kita-Kamakura. As you can see here, it's very steep. A lot of the first way of going, and that's a tough way to start off. Holy. Nice. Alright, so we made it through the Daibutsu hiking trail from Kita-Kamakura to our lovely friend, the Daibutsu here. So what do you think of that hiking path?
Oh, it was great. Beautiful. Lots of trees and birds. And we found a cave.
Yes, we found a cave on the way. There was a little. So the Daibutsu is really cool. Built in 1252, and it survived the Great Earthquake, the Great Kanto Earthquake of 1923. The base didn't, but the statue did. You could at least sound interested in that tidbit of information.
I was like supposed to go, wow.
Yeah, what was your favorite part about the trail?
Waiting for Dave to take 100 pictures.
Other than that, yes, I do like to take my photos, especially during cherry blossom season.
Oh, it would probably be, let me think. Probably the really cool cave that we found.
Yeah, that was really cool.
With the birds in the background.
Yeah, the birds, incredible sound, like when we got away from those screaming brats on the trail.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, I highly recommend doing the, I call it the Daibutsu hiking trail. But as I said earlier, you want to start from Kita-Kamakura and go to here, rather than start here and go to Kita-Kamakura, because it was really steep right at the end. And to have that at the beginning of your hike is pretty tough.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say. And you're walking fast because you're late to the temple.
Yeah, there was that as well. Yeah. But we made it in time, and I got to go inside the temple as well.
So I didn't have to strangle you.
Did you get to go inside the
No,
Buddha?
I didn't, because someone didn't tell me.
Oh, sorry.
That
I was looking
actually,
for you. Anyway.
I could have gotten in if I had moved fast.
It's a wee bit toasty here. It's around the end of March, but the metal is still quite warm. Anywho, highly recommend the trail. Give yourself plenty of time so that you can have time to take photos and videos, especially during certain times of the year, whether it be cherry blossoms or hydrangeas or the fall blossoms. Yeah, probably need like 2, maybe 3 hours, I think, to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Not more.
Yeah, it's not that it's that long of a hike. It's just that you want to stop and take a lot of photos.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, so this is Ronan Dave. See you.